Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and it's time again for our weekly visit with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And Coach, an exciting game last Friday night. The Wildcats scored with 41.5 seconds left and pulled out a 1-point win over Highland, and had to be a great confidence boost for your team, not only to get a last-second win, but also be 3-0 at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, obviously, you told me after the game we hadn't been 3-0 since 2012, I think.
Right.
And, you know, it didn't seem like it's been that long, but I know that we have really faced a really strong non-conference schedule the last several years, and it has been a tough road to get through all that, and to get 3 wins against some of the quality opponents we've played is been a challenge, and so it's a good feeling. You know, when you start the season, you have high hopes and visions and goals of what you want to achieve, but you know, I looked at the schedule, I wasn't sure where this team was going to land. I was confident, but man, they've even exceeded my expectations, and I'm proud of them, and they've been resilient, and it's good to be 3-0.
Let's talk about that game Friday night. One of the things we talked about last week in this conversation was that you wanted to be able to establish some drives and hang on to the ball and keep their offense off the field. And you weren't really successful at that, but you were able to stay close with some big plays.
You know, that's kind of been the thing. You know, those drives that we would like to put together would really be helpful to our defense, and our defense has played so well this year. But we just failed to put together long drives, and sometimes it's because we scored quickly. It wasn't because we couldn't put together long drives. Just we scored so fast on occasion, which is I guess a good problem to have. But I think ultimately our defense continues to be pretty resilient in the fact that they do get worn down. They faced a very good offensive team, a great offensive line, and a great rushing attack from Highland. That's as good a blocking team as I think you can play in the regular season. I've had a number of people, you know, point that out, and just on the street mentioning, man, Highland could really get it done up front. Even the receiver blocking was excellent. So to come away with a win against a quality opponent like that, and do it without putting drives together and having to rely on the big play was pretty awesome. I think the ultimate idea is that we needed a drive at the end of the game, and we needed to use up some clock and not give them a whole bunch of time to you know, come back. And we got that drive when we needed it, and didn't leave them at 42 seconds with no timeouts, and so ended up working out. It was close.
Let's talk about that drive. You took over with just a little more than 6 minutes left. You got, before the touchdown, which was on third down, you got 3 other third down conversions, and of the 12 first downs you had in the game, half of them came on that final drive.
Yeah.
But in particular, those third down conversions, and one was a penalty, but one, 3rd and 22, you got a 23-yard pass. And another one was a 3rd and 6 or 7, you managed to get 8 or 9 yards and convert that third down.
Well, they were close. You know, it is not your prototypical, you know, great 2-minute drill. There's a lot of setbacks and third down and longs, as you said, but then there were some big key plays at crucial moments, big catches, big throws. Offensive line started giving us just that extra amount of time we needed to complete the pass. Guys made great catches. I mean, John Tucker made a couple, Frankie made a couple. I mean, we had guys making key catches at key moments, and if you go back and look at the film, you know, Vincent Newsom is attracting a lot of attention, and so when that happens, the other guys have to step up and make plays. And so it was great to see Frankie and John make plays when we needed to make plays, and be able to kind of spread that wealth around a little bit to other guys. And hopefully future opponents can't just key on Vince. They know they've got to watch out for the other receivers, and that's the kind of balance we're looking for.
And I think, if I remember right, Bryce only had 1 catch, and that came in that last drive
and
too.
It was a big catch.
Right.
You know, Drake Bravad had some tough catches. They were short catches, but they were big catches. So, yeah, you know, Lucas did a good job of getting the ball to different people. Lucas did a good job of finding the guy that was open on that particular play. You know, there's a lot going on. He's had a lot of pressure on him from the defensive rush, and he was able to find the guy he needed to find in those third down situations.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I know early in the game you had got on Lucas because he was missing the open guy and not going to the open guy. And again, we talked about this team, how they make adjustments during the game. They don't have to have a halftime or an after game to review that. They make those adjustments during the game.
Yeah, and as I said when I first started today, was when you go into a season, you have these ideas, these thoughts of what this team is going to be about. And one of the things you don't know until you start playing games is how are they going to handle being down late? How are they going to handle getting chewed out maybe in the first or second quarter? How are they going to respond to that? Can they make those in-game adjustments that are necessary to, deal with the defense? It's giving them trouble. We got to make some very quick adjustments. Sometimes they're made on the sideline. Sometimes they're made just talking to your quarterback in between possessions. And I'm finding out that this group, as you said, is making those game time adjustments. So far they have. And that's been critical to, I think, all 3 wins.
A lot of people will overlook this too, and I didn't realize until I went back and started looking at the play-by-play. But that drive started deep in a hole because you had a nice return by Jonathan, and it got called back for a penalty, and you started on your own 14-yard line.
Yeah, we've dealt with that the last couple of weeks. Now, the week before against Jerseyville, we had a kick returner slip and fall and start us deep in a hole. We didn't score on that drive, but we were able to use up the clock that was remaining. In this game, we started another hole again, like you said, and did not put ourselves in favorable position, because when Coach Schulmeister, our special teams coordinator, got them together, he said, hey, this kickoff return, if we can get a good field position with it, it will really help us out. And got a penalty, didn't happen. But fortunately, there were 6 minutes left, and we were able to use most of that up in the process. But we weren't trying to use up clock, but it's a good thing we didn't leave them a lot of time.
I mentioned this after the game Friday night. Are we going to start calling him Primetime Tucker? Jonathan, I mean, not only did he have that, we talked about the returns, he had a long run for a touchdown, he had the long catch last week against Jerseyville, and he had the punt return this past week. And he continues to be the guy who I think maybe surprisingly is the one who's making the big plays.
Yeah, I think he very much exceeded our expectations, but it's not something you don't see in practice. It's just our motto this year, of course, is elevate. And I think in a lot of ways, John has really elevated his game, not only in practice, but especially come game time. I mean, he's blocked well, he's made big plays, big catches, big runs, and obviously in our offensive system, when you're a spread team, you need multiple guys that can make plays, not relying on one individual. And so he's really stepped up, and I think just a junior, so that's even better, but to see him step up and make plays the way he has in multiple ways, special teams, runs, passes, like you said. So we love the fact that John has been another guy we can go to for some big moments.
And I want to throw this in there too, because a lot of times you see big play guys who maybe shy away from mixing it up. Yeah. And that's one thing he hasn't done. I mean, I've seen him with some hard runs, 4, 5, 6 yards, where it wasn't, a lot of times the guy would just go down right away, and he's fighting for that extra yard or two.
And sometimes it's been in situations where he wasn't the main guy, that wasn't catching a lot of balls, he wasn't getting a lot of carries, but he just keeps working and he keeps finding a way. His long run came off a counter play that really there wasn't much there. He kind of got behind some blockers. I think they lost him. And then once he made a little his way through, he's faster than people think, and he really showed some separation speed on that, just like he did on the punt return. So I think it was really good to see John really get involved and have a big game, and he's done that 3 weeks in a row now, and we're going to need him throughout the conference schedule now.
You mentioned to the team and to the maniacs and the parents who were all surrounding you for that post-game huddle how important it's been to have that kind of a home crowd. And if these first 2 home games, I think that the fans and the maniacs have taken your motto to heart. They've elevated their game too a little bit.
And I think so too. I mean, I've been coaching here a long time, and I have seen some great crowds, and I've seen some great student sections. I don't know that it's ever been better. Our student section has really just overwhelmed I think, the entire atmosphere. I mean, they have really taken it to another level. There's a lot of them. They're loud. They're there for 4 quarters. They're on the field afterwards. We've had a couple of Fridays now that have been really, really special, and I hope we can continue making some of those memories, because our home atmosphere we brag about. And I'm sure that every team thinks their home atmosphere is special, but I really think we've had something special here for a long time now. And I like your idea of maybe everybody's kind of elevated that a little bit. I thought our regular fans were amazing. Our parents, our regular fans, our season ticket holders, the band staying with us, our cheerleaders. I mean, I just think the whole thing, and to gather on the field together, to be able to talk to the team, but to be able to address the entire group, pretty awesome moment. Yeah.
It's a new season. Conference season starts this week, and you lead off with the conference favorite in Cahokia, and they're 2-1. And in looking at their games, of course, the team they lost to is a pretty good state-ranked team out of Missouri. Cahokia is Cahokia, but I think this year the added element is, we've talked about this a little bit, they're pretty solid defensively.
They are, and they're good. They've been good. I don't know a year they've not been really good since I've been here, but they're always a good football team, and so we've got our work cut out for us again. This is, I feel like all 3 teams we've played so far are good, and I feel like we're getting an elevated situation every time. We just keep getting better. So we better elevate to meet the challenge that they're going to bring. But they're a different kind of team than what we've seen from the 3 previous. They will run the ball. They can throw it. They've got good athletes. Their defense is probably the fastest defense we'll face maybe all year. So having said that, we've got to have a good game plan to try to find ways to effectively move the ball and get our receivers the ball. And so it'll be a tough night. There's no doubt about it.
I did get a chance to watch a few highlights of their game with Chaminade, and the one thing that Chaminade presented was a little bit of speed, and that's one thing that you guys have. So there's possibly an opportunity there.
Yeah, well, you hope so. I mean, we are who we are, and football is very much about matchups and how well you match up with their strengths or their weaknesses. And so sometimes you can look at things on paper, and you can look at game plans and records and points allowed and so forth, but sometimes it comes down to how you match up with a team. And I'm hoping that we can match up well with them. We can make this a ball game. We can stay in it and do what we've been doing, find a way to win that game in the second half.
Mentally, this is probably the first game where you would consider yourselves definitely an underdog, I think. Right. I mean, the other ones, Highland, Jerseyville, it might have been questionable whether you're favored or not, but this one, I think it's safe to say you're the underdog in this game. This team, I think, may be one of those kinds of teams that relishes that and looks forward to taking that challenge on. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, one of those things you'll find out. But I know they're excited to play this game. I know we've off to a good week of practice, and I feel like the coaches have done a really good job of putting a game plan together. But ultimately, it'll come down to execution on Friday night. And we've always played. We've always played pretty well there. So I feel like it's gotten better environment-wise. The surface is better to play on than it used to be. I think our kids will embrace the entire situation, and I think we'll play well. I know they'll play hard for us, and we're going to have to prevent their big plays, and we're going to have to keep making some big plays to win this game. I don't think our game plan is going to change very much. Coach still wants to put some drives together, give that defense a break, and I still think that's important. But if we're not driving the ball because we're scoring quickly, I can live with that.
Well, but I did want to ask that question, though. It's probably important for you to keep the ball out of their hands because of their big play capability.
Absolutely. And they have been traditionally, they will beat you on big plays, and they will beat you on a lot of big plays that kind of come in a very short time span. So you go back and look at our games. I know a few years ago we were up, and within about a 3 or 4 minute time span, from a block punt to a long pass to an interception, next thing you know, we're down 2 scores in a very short amount of time. So we have to avoid those kinds of 4 or 5 minute blocks where you just allow a big return, get an interception, next thing you know, the game flips on you. So when we beat them, we don't let those things happen. When they beat us, those things happen to us. And so we want to avoid that. and make sure that if we do give up a big play, that's the only big play we give up for a while, that we can answer that with a drive or a score of our own.
We're at a point in the season where we can start asking about this. It seems like the team is relatively healthy after 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've got what I just think it's typical mid-season now, weeks 4, 5, and 6 for that mid-season range, and we've got those mid-season bumps and bruises like everybody has, and so we have called on some younger players to start playing more and to step in and play, and Clayton Tanner and Devin Margram and some others, Tyler Sema, continue to step up and play roles for us in crucial situations. And so it's really good to watch our young guys start to step up and play for us, because we need that depth. We need those guys on the field making plays.
We talked about the home atmosphere. This is one of those opportunities where we've seen consistently over the last several trips to Cahokia where the Wildcats bring more fans than the home team does.
Yeah, we travel well. I don't worry about that. And what I like, our road fans are noisy. They make a lot of noise. They're and so once we get on our sideline and once we get our fans behind us, we just consider it just a home game. Just the location can change, but we're still going to embrace it as a home game because our fans are behind us. And I don't know. There's something. Playing at home is the greatest, but sometimes when you're on the road, it's you against the world. I think you kind of got to embrace that. It's our fans, it's us, and that's it. And so we kind of make that little sideline of ours our new home away from home, and kind of intimate, kind of fun, kind of exciting. So we look forward to a big challenge on the road against a good football team. And again, like you said, the conference starts against the conference champs. So we're going to have a big night, but we're looking forward to it.
That's this Friday night at Cahokia. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. That's Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.